Okay, picking up from where we last left off, this is what you will be making. I'll be making this pillar. It's composed of two cubes, polygon cubes, one cylinder, and a NURB sphere. I'm going to delete these items now and show you how they were created. Okay. Oh, and from the last video, I activated shading, wireframe on shaded. You'll do this in the next chapter exercise with the polygon helmet, but with it off, it makes it kind of awkward when it comes to viewing the objects there, so just turned it on, make it easier to view, especially from the video. So anyways, we start with the cube, create polygon cube, and the options right here, edit, reset settings, and then we enter the values here. 1.75 for the width, height is 0.6, depth is 1.75, and everything else remains the same. You hit create. Now my object is, I'm going to hit key 4 for wireframe. My object, whenever you create an object, it's going to be placed at the origin of the document unless you specify otherwise. So hit 5, go back to shaded mode, zoom in just a little bit, and just eyeball it, put it into place right there. I guess that's good enough. Or if you want to be really specific, you know, you can view it from the side and then manually adjust it. Okay, next I'm going to build the polygon cylinder. So go up to create and polygon cylinder options, reset settings, and then enter radius of 0.5, height of 6, and axis division set to 12. Everything else remains as it is. I hit create. If you don't already have the move tool selected, select it and move it into place. And then we're going to make a copy of the little cube here. I'm going to make a copy of it using duplicate special, which is going to copy it and translate it a few increments up along the y-axis, as well as scale it subtly. So zoom in so we can see it. Select it so that I can copy. Duplicate special, options, edit, reset settings. Okay, the translate field, we have 0, 6.6, and 0. So 0, then middle field, 6.6, or in the Y field, this is X, Y, Z. So 0, 6.6, 0, and scale, it's going to be 0.8, 1 in the center field, and 0.8 in the last field. Everything else remains the same. I hit duplicate special and it moves the object into place. You see it's a little bit above where I need it to be, so go to side view and just nudge it into place. Last thing to build is a NURB object that I'm going to use for the base there. Create NURB sphere, edit, reset settings, and the NURB settings here, they're going to want the start sweep angle at 0 and the end sweep angle at 180. See, currently it says 360 because the sphere, you know, it's a complete sphere. It's like a circle, 360-degree sphere. But in our case here, we're only going to need half of it, so we're going to divide that. They want the sphere or the end sweep angle at 180. They want the radius of 0.75 and number of sections here, 8 and 4, so we just leave that alone. Leave everything as it is, hit create. Again, it's going to be at the base, so I'm going to raise that up. You may notice that it's sitting there on its side. Well, that's not really a big deal. I could have told it, you know, how to go about rotating itself before I created it, but they want you to do this on purpose, you know, because they're mean like that. So manually, I'm going to rotate it, switch to the rotating tool. Going to rotate it along the x-axis and then just wide flat like that. You may notice the values in the channels panel along the X is adjusting as I rotate the object. So if you really want to be specific, see, it's going to be sitting close to the, actually it's going to be sitting, if you want it flushed with the cube here, which is what they want, I'm going to want to enter -90. Whoops, I put +90, it flipped it around, so just go here, put a little negative in front of it, hit enter, there we go. You could very well eyeball it, but you know, select my shape, move it, and just make sure that it's flushed with the cube base right there. Okay, there you go. Actually, I should turn on shading for this one here, wireframe on shaded. Same thing goes for this one here. When I say this one, I mean the camera wireframe on shaded and wireframe on shaded. This makes it easier to view. Makes it look more high-tech and stuff. The last thing they're going to want you to do is to scale this sphere down a little bit, just to squash it down a bit, just to make the base of that pillar like there, like that. Okay, the last thing you're going to do is you're going to group each one of these shapes together so that it is selectable as a group column. Now you can very easily hold down the shift key. You want to deselect anything before you group an object together. You only want the objects that you wish to group selected, so I'm going to hold down, make sure to click off to the screen to deselect anything. If you have objects selected and you want to deselect, just click off to the screen. Now I'm going to start at the bottom, clicking the base there, and hold down shift, click the sphere. As long as I'm holding down shift, you'll be able to shift select objects. If you accidentally click on an object you didn't intend to select, you can hold down shift and select it, and it'll deselect it. Very well, select and deselect these shapes, but they want you to select all 4 of these pieces here. Then what I like to do is confirm that my objects are selected. I usually do that by switching to the move tool and just confirming that those are the only objects that are moving around. Once all that is double checked, I go to edit, and they're going to want you to group this, but they're going to want you to make sure certain options are put into place first. In our case here, they're going to want parent selected, origin, and preserve position. So after selecting all of my objects, all I have to do now is hit group, and now my objects have been grouped together. See, it'll automatically be selected, so I can start to move and manipulate my objects as a group. Includes rotating, oops, and scaling, and select it right. Okay, the mode I'm currently in is in shape mode or object type. So which means even though I group this object together, it's still acting like they're still acting like individual objects. That's because of the mode I'm in. Currently I'm in select by type, meaning it selects by individual pieces here. If I want to select by group, I have to switch to select by hierarchy. So anything that is grouped together will be selected as a group, but also be modified as a group, as you can see here. So these objects here will act as individual pieces because they are not grouped together. If they were grouped together, then of course they would select like a group. The only thing that is being grouped is this item right here. I'm going to switch back to select by object type and show you that you can select your objects by switching to outliner. You should see a group title right there. Oops, this is from the previous. I'm going to get rid of that previous group that I made. Here we go. It's untitled right now. You could title it here. You could name it here. You could name it in the channels, but there's another item they're going to want you to play around with in this exercise. So we go to Windows, General Editors, and we go to Hypergraph Hierarchy. And this is just like the outliner. It shows us all of the objects that are currently present in our scene. Click on Temple Base. There, it's going to select the bottom shape. Temple Base 2, there it is. And here's our group. We have the individual pieces. If we want to select those individual pieces, we can select them there. Or if we want to select the group and manipulate it, we can select the group just like that. In our case here, they're going to want us to rename the group and call it, what did they want us to call it? Scroll down the line real quick here. Right? Oh, they want us to label it column. So clicking on the item here will expand the subgroup or the group and its contents. So if you click on the item and try to rename it, that's not going to work. It's merely going to collapse and expand the group hierarchy there. So what you do is you right click and then you go to rename. And we'll just type in column, hit OK, and now it has been labeled. I'm going to close this out for now. Save it. Remember, save constantly. I'm going to save this as version 2 of what this document currently is. See, last one was. Here's a quick renaming tip. Whatever you want to rename your document, you simply click onto the title of any document, locate it within your scenes folder. In my case here is previously saved document, Robin L. Temple version 1. I just click on it, but I changed the name to version 2 so that save it as a backup. Alright, on to the next video.